Welcome my friends. This is the second video of Aurora tutorials, and today we'll discuss some of the questions from the syllabus that we have to study. Okay, moving into the first question. The element X belongs to the group 3 in the periodic table. The chemical formula of X. So first, this is something related to valency of elements or atoms. So valency is a measure of combining capacity of atoms or molecules. Simply, it is the ability of an atom or molecule to donate, share, or obtain an electron from other substance. So here we can, from the periodic table, from the position of the element or where it is present in the group in which it present, we can get an idea about its valency. So and from this, if we consider about the group 3 elements, their valency is usually 3. And also from the periodic table, if we consider about the periods, it gives the number of energy levels in which an element is belonged. So and for ions, the valency is its charge. So here, based on these tips, we can say the X has a valency of 3 and sulfate ion has a valency of 2. So when we are deriving the chemical formula, so we have to interchange these valencies. So from this we can derive our equation. So here sulfate has a valency of 2 and X has a valency of 3, and when we interchange these valencies, we can obtain the answer like this: X2 XO4 tries. Therefore the answer is third one. Question number 2. Which of the following oxide having covalent bonds? Magnesium oxide, sodium oxide, calcium oxide, silicon dioxide. Okay, so sometimes the elements form compounds by using covalent bonds or ionic bonds. So for the elements belong to group 1 and 2, they form ionic bonds, and also their oxides are basic. And oxides formed by group 5, 6, 7 and 4, they are acidic, and these oxides are formed by covalent bonds. Therefore from these answers we can say that silicon dioxide is formed by a covalent bond, and answer is 4 for the second question. Question number 3. Which of the following gives the number of water molecules in 54 grams of water? In bracket, relative atomic mass of hydrogen is 1 and oxygen is 16. So for the calculation, this relationship is really important, because first what we need to do is to calculate the number of moles of water present in 54 grams of water. Here are the number of water molecules. So here from this calculation we can calculate, and first is to calculate the molecular mass of water, and it is equal to 18 grams per mole. And if you calculate this, the number of moles of water is 3 moles. Water molecules is 3 moles. So from the second equation given here, so it gives that as we know, the 1 mole of a certain substance they have an Avogadro number of the given substance. From there, so therefore 3 moles means it has 3 Avogadro numbers. That means the number of molecules of water present in 54 grams is this much, and therefore the answer is 3. Question number 4. Consider the statements A, B and C related to the situations P and Q shown in the following figures. A. Volume of gas A in situation Q increased due to the increase in temperature. B. pressure inside the balloon in situation P is greater than that of Q. C. The increase of balloon volume in situation Q is an example of compression of air. Okay. Answer for this one is second one, and we'll evaluate why is that. First one, A. The volume of gas A in the situation Q is increased due to increase in temperature. Yes, because this is an example for thermal expansion of air. Once the temperature get increased, then air molecules tend to expand. So expansion has resulted in the increase in volume of balloon Q, balloon in the situation Q. So second one, B. The pressure inside the balloon in situation P is greater than that of Q. It is obvious from the image given. You can identify that it has a lower pressure, because once there's a direct relationship between the temperature and pressure. Increase in pressure increase in temperature increases the pressure of air. Therefore, if higher the temperature, higher the pressure. So here, if you consider about that, there's a significant temperature differences between the P and Q instances, and out of these two instances, P is having the lowest temperature. Therefore, it should be like this, that Q has a higher pressure compared to P. And then C is also incorrect. This is an example for thermal expansion of air Q in the instance Q. Okay. Question number 5. The information related to a biological process that takes place in a plant is given in the diagram. According to the diagram, A, B, C and D are respectively. So here this is related to photosynthesis, and here it should be A, B, C, D, but in the diagram it is given as A, B, D, E. It should be A, B, instead of D we have to say C, and instead of E we can define it as D. Okay. From the photosynthesis, for the photosynthesis means carbon dioxide and water molecules react to form glucose in the presence of chlorophyll pigments and solar light. Therefore, A and B is carbon dioxide and water, then C is glucose, and D is oxygen. Therefore, first one is the answer. Question number 6. This is a really simple question. It is related to momentum. The mass of an object is 3 kilograms, and calculate its momentum when it moves at a velocity of 4 meters per second. Okay. We can calculate momentum using this equation. Momentum equals to mass into velocity. Okay, the mass is 3 kilograms, velocity is 4 meters per second. Then product of 3 and 4 is 12. Therefore, the momentum is 12 kilograms per meters per second. Question number 7. What is the mass of glucose required to make 500 cubic centimeters of 1 mole per cubic decimeter glucose solution? Relative molecular mass of glucose is 180. Okay, that means they have defined the volume and concentration that they require to prepare. So for this we need to calculate what is the mass of glucose required. Okay, so for this we have to use this, we can use this relationship and this relationship. Here, first thing is, from the concentration and volume we can calculate the number of moles. Then there's a relationship between the number of moles and the mass. Using that we can calculate the mass required for the preparation. So from here and here you can see the you can see the equations, and I have combined these two equations. From that we can directly calculate the mass required. Okay, mass is, then from this derivation we can say mass is equal to concentration into volume and then into the molar mass of the given substance. So concerned all should be in standard units, and from this calculation we can see that the mass of glucose required is equal to 90 grams. Therefore 2 is the answer. Question number 8. This is related to optics, and figure shows an object OA placed in front of a convex lens. Focus of the lens is denoted by F, and following are statements regarding image formed by it. First one, P is smaller than the object. Q, image is upright, and R is image is virtual. Okay, so we need to draw a ray diagram. So in a ray diagram, there are a few things you need to remember. One thing is when a light ray travels parallel to the principal axis, especially in a convex lens, it bends and passes through the focal point. And if a light ray travels through the fold of a lens, it won't undergo any refraction, and it will pass without any deviation. So if we consider these two facts, we can draw the ray diagram like this. But here we can see these refracted rays are not converging. That means these two rays appear to converge. So we can extend these rays in backward direction, or the direction opposite to the direction which the light ray passes. And here this red color dotted line show these rays and show that image appear to converge behind the object. So if an image is appear to converge, that is a virtual image. So now you can see the image, and from this you can see that this image is larger than the object, and it is upright, and it is a virtual image. Therefore answer should be Q and R is correct. Question number 9. Following figure shows the location of particles of a string at a certain instance which vibrate transversely. Which of the following is incorrect regarding this diagram? Okay, A and C are crest. It is correct. Then OX length is termed as pitch. This is incorrect. Actually, pitch is a property of sound, and it depends on frequency. And therefore answer is second one, and we'll further discuss about the remaining answers. A, C is wavelength. Yeah. In a transverse wave, we can define the distance between two crests or troughs as the wavelength D. D and B are troughs. Yes, those are correct. Therefore answer is second one, and OX means amplitude of the wave. Therefore according to this, second one is the answer. Question number 10. Select the correct statement from the following. Bases release H plus ions when it is in an aqueous solution. Incorrect. Bases actually release OH hydroxyl ions, that is OH minus ions. Acids release OH minus ions when it is in an aqueous solution. That is also incorrect. Acids release H plus ions. Third one, acids release H plus ions when it is in an aqueous solution. That is correct. Fourth one, bases release H plus and OH minus ions when it is in an aqueous solution. This is also incorrect for chemical. So here water molecules capable of releasing both H plus and OH minus ions simultaneously to a medium, but bases and acids are not capable of doing that. Therefore, answer for this question is third one. Question number 11. It is noted as 240 volt and 100 watt in an electric equipment. What is the current flows through the equipment when it is operated under due voltage? So in order to calculate this, we need to get an idea about this equation. This equation gives the power of an electric appliance. So from this relationship we can calculate the current of this current required for the operation. So here power equals voltage into the current supply. So here we know the power and voltage supplied. So from that we can calculate the answer, and current equal 5 upon 15, 12 amperes, and answer is first one. Question number 12. Which of the following causes an instant impact on carbon cycle? Increase the monsoon rain, burning of fossil fuels, ozone layer depletion, adding fertilizers to soil. So increase in monsoon rain and ozone layer depletion are effects caused by the greenhouse gases, and also other gases like that are capable of destroying the ozone layer. And adding fertilizer is it is something that we are used in agriculturally, but if we use this in unnecessary ways or in excess ways, it can become an environmental pollutant. But burning of fossil fuels, burning of fossil fuels can release a lot of carbon dioxide. Therefore second one is the answer. Question number 13. Which of the following statement is incorrect regarding the heat capacity of an object? First one, heat capacity is changed according to the mass. Units of heat capacity is joule per kilogram per degrees of Celsius. Heat capacity of an object of 1 kilogram is equal to the specific heat capacity of that. Heat capacity is the amount of heat needed to increase the temperature of an object by 1 degree of Celsius. So for this, if we need to get an idea about what is meant by heat capacity. Actually, heat capacity is the amount of heat to be supplied to a given mass of a material to produce a unit change in its temperature. So therefore, even from the definition you can get an idea that it shows the mass is an important factor. And means it depends on heat capacity depends on the mass. Higher the mass, higher the heat capacity. Okay, the answer should be second one, because here mass depend, but even though it is depend on mass, it is mentioned that it depends on mass. Therefore we cannot include that into the units. Heat capacity is as defined here, it is the amount of heat required to raise the temperature of a given mass of the material. And third one is correct because it has specified the mass. Therefore it is the definition of specific heat capacity. Question number 14. Following are three polymers which have different structures. From the above, less density polythene and vulcanized rubber is shown respectively by. So this is related to the classification of polymers based on structure. So here the three structures given here are linear polymers, and then polymers with branch chains, then polymers with crosslinks. Okay, if you consider about polythene, it has a linear chain like this. And if you consider about the vulcanized rubber, so vulcanization is performed using sulfur. When the sulfur is added into the rubber, it forms crosslinks. Therefore, the answer is A and C. Question number 15. Following is how the characteristics are inherited in monohybrid breeding between tall and dwarf garden tree plants. Heterozygous tall plants in two generation can be seen in. So we'll get an idea about what is meant by heterozygous, homozygous, and the answer related to this one. So homozygous means having two identical alleles of a particular gene or genes. Heterozygous means having two different alleles of a particular gene. So allele means alternative form of a gene. Therefore, from this monohybrid breeding, we can obtain the following results for the F2 generation. A is having a homozygous characters, homozygous. A and B are homozygous. C and D are heterozygous. Therefore, third one is the answer. Okay, into the question number 16. Select the correct statement about electrolysis. So from this figure, this shows this simple setup for electrolysis. So we'll see the answers. Electrode which connected to the negative terminal is the cathode. Yes, it is correct. Then electrode which is connected to a positive terminal is cathode. No, it should be anode. Then the electrode at which oxidation occurs is cathode. No, always oxidation takes place at anode. And the electrode at which reduction occurs is anode. No, always oxidation. Therefore, answer is first one. Question number 17. Consider the structures cell. Consider the cell constructed by immersing iron and copper electrodes in diluted sulfuric acid. Which of the following is the anodic reaction of this cell? Two things you need to remember. One thing is higher the position in activity series, these elements are capable of oxidizing. And also anodic reaction means it always undergoes oxidation. Therefore, if we consider about the reactions here, copper and here copper, if you consider about the positions of iron and copper within the activity series, iron is located above position above copper. Therefore, the oxidation takes place definitely with iron. So here therefore we can omit copper. The answer which deals with copper, the first one is incorrect. Then second one is related to iron, but it shows the reduction reaction, therefore it is incorrect. Third one is correct because it shows the oxidation of iron. Then final one is also related to reduction, therefore third one is the answer. Question number 18. Which of the following is not a causative gas for acid rain? So simply we can define acid rains as the rains having pH below 5.6 or below 5.6 as acid rains. So mainly the oxides of nitrogen and oxides of sulfur involved in acid rains. However, the carbon dioxide, when it is dissolved in water, it forms carbonic acid, but it is a weak acid. therefore it won't be therefore carbonic acid or the mixed carbon dioxide gas dissolved in water won't reduce the pH of water below 5.6. Therefore answer should be second one. Question number 19. Select the option which gives two metals that are extracted by reduction method. This is also a question related to the activity series. If elements present higher up in the activity series are extracted using electrolysis, and elements which are present within at the middle of the activity series extracted using reduction method, and metals below this are extracted by using physical methods. So if you consider about this sodium, magnesium, potassium, calcium, these are present at top levels within the activity series, therefore they are extracted using electrolysis. Therefore answer 1, 2 and 4 are incorrect, and the question answer should be third one, because these are extracted using reduction methods. Question number 20. Which of the following is not a characteristic of electromagnetic waves? First one is can propagate in vacuum. Second one, having a charge, being a transverse wave, obey laws of reflection. Answer is second one. They do not have a charge, but they have electric and magnetic fields. Question number 21. The temperature of an object is 300 Kelvin. The temperature in Celsius. So we use different scales to represent temperature. One thing is Celsius, other one is Kelvin, and the final one is Fahrenheit. But standard method is to represent using the Kelvin scale. So if we add 273 to the Celsius scale value, then we can obtain the Kelvin scale. So therefore from this relationship we can say the answer is 27 degrees of Celsius. Therefore first one is the answer. Question number 22. In which of the following instances can a p-type semiconductor can be made? First one, doping a small amount of phosphorus with germanium, doping a small amount of arsenic with silicon, doping a small amount of aluminium with silicon, doping a small amount of silicon with germanium. So for when we are constructing p-type and n-type semiconductors, we need to dope certain elements. So in order to make n-type semiconductors, we have to dope the elements belongs to group 5, because it requires an extra electron to be present in the extrinsic semiconductor. So therefore if we consider about this phosphorus and arsenic, doping of phosphorus and arsenic makes n-type semiconductors, and both silicon and germanium are involved in constructing semiconductors, therefore they are not involved in doping. So aluminium belongs to group 3, and group 3 elements are used to make p-type semiconductors, therefore third one is the answer. Question number 23. Following select the correct statement regarding the changes of state of matter. First one, conversion of the state of a substance only from solid to liquid is generally known as a change of state. Changes in states of matter occur at varying temperatures. The heat absorbed by the system without changing its temperature, while the change of state is known as latent heat. Melting point of water is 100 degrees Celsius. Okay, well, if we evaluate these statements, first one, conversion of state of a substance only from solid to liquid. We cannot say it's only from solid to liquid, even from solid to liquid, then from liquid to gas takes place in changes in states of matter. Therefore, first one is incorrect. Second one is these physical changes occur at uniform temperatures. Therefore, temperature is not varying during these changes. The second one is also incorrect, but third one is actually correct, and therefore answer is third one. So for the fourth one, melting point of water is 0, not 100. It is boiling point. Question number 24. Consider the following statements regarding the heat transfer. A conduction is the forward flow of heat through any material by heating up of the constituent particles one by one in succession. Convection is the flow of heat by upward motion of particles decreasing the density when liquids or gases are heated up. C. Radiation is the flow of heat from a heated body in the form of electromagnetic waves with the aid of a material medium. So, which of the following statements true? From these statements A, B, and C, both A and B are true. Just like those are just like the definitions for these heat transfer methods. But actually, C is incorrect because for electromagnetic waves, radiation for the electromagnetic waves, it does not require a medium. Even it can transfer through vacuum. Therefore, C is incorrect, and the answer is A and B are true. Question number 25. A piece of paraffin is at room temperature. Investigate the changes occurring in it when the temperature is gradually increased and temperature measurements were plotted against time. The following graph was obtained. Select the correct explanation about the graph. Room temperature is 25. The melting point of paraffin is 55. Boiling point of paraffin is 70 degrees Celsius. No heat energy was consumed from second minute to third minute. So here from room temperature is 25. We cannot exactly say 25 as the room temperature, but this is the starting temperature to supply the heat. And in the second answer, or in the second response, the melting point of paraffin is 55. So here it can say, we can say like that, because during a phase change, the temperature will remain for a constant period of time until at constant temperature for a given period of time until the phase state of that substance will change physically from a given state to another. Because paraffin is a solid at room temperature, therefore solid will turn into liquid, or conversion of solids into liquid, or melting of paraffin wax into paraffin liquid can be defined as the melting point. Therefore 55 degrees of Celsius can be defined as its melting point. Then question answer 3, boiling point of paraffin is 70. We cannot say it like that because it still the curve shows that it is increasing. And fourth one is also increased. Actually it consumes heat to change its state from solid to liquid. Therefore answer is second one. Question number 26. Which of the following statement is incorrect about the plant tissue given below? These tissues consist of dead cells. Lignin is deposited on the cellulose cell walls.
Cells are loosely packed with no intercellular spaces. Cell is evenly thickened and forms a central lumen. So this is about sclerenchyma tissues. So this, even from the figure here, it shows this is about sclerites, which are dead cells, and therefore first one is correct due to deposition of lignin in cell walls. And actually, because of this deposition, these cells are tightly packed, but here it says loosely packed. Therefore third one is the answer. Okay. Question number 27. A characteristic of skeletal muscle fiber is. So this is really simple question. If you follow my last video, in the last video I have shown some tabulated comparisons between skeletal muscles, smooth muscles, and cardiac muscles. So if you consider about the shape, it is cylindrical shaped, therefore first one is incorrect. And skeletal muscle fibers possess cross striations, therefore it is correct. They are actually multinucleate, therefore third one is incorrect. And never become fatigue, actually they become fatigue, therefore answer is second. Question number 28. Features mentioned below could be observed in a plant tissue under a microscope. Identify the tissue: large vacuoles and living cells, and presence of isodiametric cells. So this is actually about parenchyma tissues, because spherical shaped or isodiametric shaped cells are present in parenchyma cells, and they have large simple vacuoles, and actually they are living cells. Even from the answers you can see, so sclerenchyma, they are non-living, and xylem is a complex tissue, we cannot take those two as the answers. And collenchyma, they harshly have, when compared to parenchyma cells, they have smaller, or even we cannot find sometimes we cannot find large vacuoles. So parenchyma tissues is the answer for this one. Well, into the question number 29. What is the food type that translocates to storing organs in plants? This is related to plant photosynthesis. So actually, if I briefly explain about photosynthesis. So first it produces glucose, and it temporarily store these glucose as sucrose within these photosynthetic sites. Then they translocate them to the via phloem tissues into the storage organs, and for this way they can transform to sucrose, and once in the storage organ, again they convert to starch. Therefore sucrose is the answer for this question. Okay, into the final question of this video. When a student observes an animal tissue under the microscope, he observed the cells present on the basement membrane. The tissue is actually this is related to animal tissues, and it is, the answer is epithelial tissues, because epithelial tissues are attached to a basement membrane. Actually epithelial tissues involves in lining up the free surfaces, such as internal or external free surfaces of the vertebrate body, and they are composed of a single layer of cells, so sometimes with several cell layers. And actually they are placed on a basement membrane, and cells are tightly packed, and nerve supply is present within these tissues, but there is no blood supply. Therefore the oxygen and nutrient supply is occur via diffusion to these tissues. Therefore answer is first one. So this is all about our second video tutorial questions, and If you need more and more discussions related to different sections of your syllabus, please comment below, and have a nice day. Thank you.